Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome back to season 5 of the Engineer Whisperer podcast. I'm super excited to be here today with Rich. Rich, welcome to the podcast.
It is a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you for having me.
And as we start, I want to invite you in to give us just a brief info of who you are, not that people don't know who you are, and maybe give us something that we don't know about you yet.
So I work at Amazon Web Services, and I have the distinct privilege of serving as the worldwide head of the Epic Leadership Program. And it is an effort to help leaders all over the world, both at Amazon and at our customers, increase their emotional and social intelligence capabilities so they can lead with greater empathy, purpose, inspiration, and connection. And I'm an engineer myself. That's how I was trained. And I work with lots and lots and lots of engineers and engineering leaders. And so I'm thrilled to report that we've engaged over 500,000 people all over the world. And they are finding an incredible amount of value in the EQ side in addition to their IQ side. So if you want to know something about me that most people don't know, I'm actually a bit of an artist engineer. I actually really love music. I enjoy singing and dancing. And I've also my dream when I was a kid was to be a rock star. And I learned pretty early on, not a whole lot of successful Chinese rock stars in America, but I got to live out my dream a few years ago. I got to actually perform as Elvis in front of a live band with the whole get up and everything in front of 5,000 people. So I was, literally singing Elvis songs. So that's one of my greatest moments in life, along with the other stuff that I do for work.
Wow, I'm so glad I asked that. I'm a dancer myself, so I can relate. And maybe we'll find something where we can, instead of the boring going and meet for a coffee, we can go and meet for dancing or singing. That is super cool. I do believe, and I have many examples of engineers are not boring. They have, as you said, this artistic side. They have this really cool side where they put a lot of effort and focus in something fun. You just need to ask and find out about them, just like I did with you. So I'm so happy. Well, I'm so glad that you came here today and are here with us today. I invited you today because of something that you shared with me in our previous conversation, and I'm super excited to ask you questions about your transition, this pivotal moment that you shared with me is that at the beginning, at an early age, you relied on your intelligence. And I want to say, just like a lot of engineers I know. And then there was a moment when you decided there's value in getting to know and learn about emotions, and then you found emotional intelligence. So take us back to the moment where I believe what we focus on is what we get good at, is this moment of what made you focus at a young age on intelligence.
So I was born in Taiwan and I came to America when I was about 4 years old. And I actually had a pretty challenging childhood from a social emotional perspective. So I had three things going against me. First is I didn't speak English. Second is I had attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. And thirdly, I was really socially awkward. So I didn't know how to make friends. And so I had a lot of sort of unpleasant emotions in my younger sort of years. And so I did what a lot of kids do. I turned them all off. I said, you know what? Forget these. They're not serving me. And I decided to focus on studying really hard and doing well in school, like a lot of Asian immigrants do. And I found out I was actually pretty smart. And so I thought, let me really focus on the IQ part. And my goal in life became to be a genius robot. And I thought this is going to be fantastic. It worked out really well for a while. I got straight A's in high school. I went to school in Illinois. I actually got a perfect score on the SAT, got a 1600. And then I got into every college I applied to. And I thought, let me study electrical engineering, computer science. I can work with machines, not people. And it was going great, my genius robot plan. But then one thing that happened that completely screwed it up, I got married. And my wife really didn't care about the genius part. She really didn't like the robot part. She wanted something called emotional connection, understanding, vulnerability, empathy. I'm like, what is this crap? No, all jokes aside, I realized that from a very personal perspective, if I wanted to have a happy marriage, I needed to work on that social emotional side. And then instead of going directly into engineering, I actually found a calling when I was in college. I realized, I actually really enjoy working with people. I love tech, but I actually really love helping people too. So for about 23 years, I made a big pivot away from engineering and I became a missionary in the Philippines. And then I was also an evangelist for about another 20 years. So working directly with people on the emotional, social, spiritual aspects. And so from both a personal and professional perspective, realize that, these social emotional skills would really make a difference.
Okay, I have so many questions. Now I have to choose just one. So, give me the timeline of when did you get married and connect me because is it before you finished college, during college,
Ah,
after?
yeah, yeah. So I went to Berkeley and I graduated on a Saturday when I was 21 years old. And I know that because I got married on Sunday. So I basically got married the day after graduated. And then 2 weeks later, I had a grand adventure to a country called the Philippines. My wife is a Filipina. And so we served there for about 3 years as missionaries. So I literally graduated, got married, moved to the Philippines, all in a span of 2 weeks. And it was quite
I
exciting.
I think that's what they call high achievers. Um,
Or other words, you might call it something else, but that's a good
how
one.
many things
That's a
can I
good
put
one.
in there? Okay, so let me be curious. Allow me to of this wonderful woman who introduced you to emotions. So, was it clear to you in any ways before you met her? No, after you met her, that emotions might play a role in your successful relationship with her? Or was
Yeah.
it something that, as she really said, okay, it will only work if you change? And let me give you just some context because I think a lot of engineers think that they're afraid of changing and definitely change when someone else asks them to change, right? It's easier when I want to change. So, was this change for you, external or internal or both?
Yeah. Well, so the way I look at it is we only change if we truly internally believe there'll be some benefit to it. And there may be external signals or data that indicate that we'll have benefit. But it really comes down to a few things, right? It really comes down to our values. What do we actually value? And what I thought throughout high school and college was I value success. I want to be great. I want to do awesome things. I want to be a high achiever. I want autonomy. I want mastery. But what I actually realized a lot more deeply about it was I actually valued something more, and that was happiness and meaningful connection with people. And so when I realized that value, I thought, you know what? In order to achieve that, I actually need to grow on my emotional intelligence skills. So I'd say my wife was sort of an external indicator and part of the sort of influence, but I myself still had to decide, I believe this is going to be good for me and for the people around me and for the things I value, my marriage, my family, and relationships being that. So I think it's a combination. External influences can be helpful, but they don't last. They're not long term. Once you get rid of it, you revert back to what you actually really want. And
Yes.
so, if you can actually mix those signals together and integrate it in a way that helps you find, sort of achieve your goals that you value, then it becomes something that's actually lasting.
I'm curious, were these values, as you said, family, relationships, connections, then always part of your value system? Or was this something that you decided at that age, given that you met your wife, that no, I want to value these going on,
Yeah.
going forward in my life? Or was this something that you always had? Maybe you grew in your family, you saw it from your parents or in the environment that you grew up.
Yeah. So that's kind of a deep question. I'll go there. I'll go as deep as you want. They were actually, I think for, really for me and for almost every child, meaningful relationships is part of what they want. I mean, there's very few people I met. I want no friends and I want no relationship. I mean, it's a fundamental motivator. But early on in my life, I actually thought, I don't know if I can achieve those. I don't have the social skills, I don't have the emotional skills, so forget it. I'll just go after something else instead. And so when I actually matured a little more, learned more about the emotional side, got married, had kids, and even my line of work as an evangelist, I realized no, I can actually go back to something I truly do want, and I can achieve it if I work on these emotion skills. And it wasn't mutually exclusive. I can be really successful in the things that I do at work and also work on these areas. In fact, these emotional areas would actually help me be even more successful in this. And so it kind of came full circle.
I'm
Um,
so glad. Yep. Are you
no, go
done?
ahead. Yeah.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that because, I meet engineers who think, oh, I need to give up my intelligence and knowledge and all this stuff that I achieved in order to, to do something with emotions or have compassion and empathy. So I'm so glad that you said that the two can go together.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Well, and there's a lot of research behind it. So again, I'm an engineer at heart, and I work with engineering leaders all over the world. I mean, C-level executives who are extremely smart, very successful, high IQ. And it's a myth that IQ and EQ are mutually exclusive or that one takes away from the other. You need both.
yes.
And in fact, all the research has pointed out to the point of the fact that long-term success, even in very technical roles such as engineering, actually are buoyed more by the emotional social side than just the IQ side. Dr. Daniel Goleman, who literally wrote
Yes.
the book Emotional Intelligence back in 1995, he's done tons of research since that book and that now, and he's found that really engineers, specifically engineers and developers, are more successful long term if they have social emotional skills than if just focus on IQ. Why? Because even if you are really great technically, at some point long term, you have to do this thing called work with other human beings. And if you are going to do that effectively, you actually need to have these social emotional skills and they augment it, right? The fact is, even on teams, MIT did this fascinating research where they found that if you want a team to be really smart, it's called collective intelligence. It has nothing to do with the IQ of the people on the team. It's not the highest IQ, it's not the average IQ. It's actually average social sensitivity and ability to have turns, turn taking in conversation.
Yes.
And also, interestingly, the ratio of women in the group. The higher the ratio of women, the better they are collective intelligence. Because again, you can have a whole bunch of jerks with high egos who all think they're really smart, get on a team, and they get nothing done because they're all trying to prove they're the smartest rather than having the social emotional awareness to be humble intellectually, to communicate well, to disagree respectfully, to have those conversations that elevate the collective intelligence of the team.
Yes, I fully agree. And again, I'm so happy that you mentioned all the studies and the book and the engineers. And that is why I wanted you to be here to share this with us because as you're talking about it, you also lived it. You went through it. And one of my frameworks that I talk about is people are interested when they see someone who went through it, not just someone who is talking about it and you went through it. I have a curious question I think a lot of people would ask. So, as an engineer, did you research emotions and emotional intelligence before jumped the gun, before you said, okay, I'm in? Did you did you use that skill of yours of analytical?
Yeah. Well, I believe in data and research, and I mean, we're a data-driven company at Amazon. I'm a data-driven person. I think most engineers are. But one of the things I really understand, have come to understand, is emotions are data, right? They're actually really important data points, right? Again,
Yeah.
if you show up for a meeting with another human being and their facial expression is this, or you show up and their facial expression is this, you probably approach it a little differently, right? There's some data points that are happening there. And that's true for, a colleague, your manager, a customer, your spouse or partner, your kids. I mean, everybody, right? So, I really didn't believe in emotions when I was younger. In fact, I thought they were a nuisance. I thought they don't serve me. They're a distraction. What's the point? I'm just trying to get stuff done. They're inefficient. And I had places to go, things to do. And yet, what I actually realized, though, at some point in my college years, and then certainly after I got married, I thought something's missing here. Like I'm really efficient, but I'm missing something. And then when I read Daniel Goleman's book, Emotional Intelligence, my eyes literally opened. I'm like, this is it. This is what's missing. It's that whole other side of human experience and connection that I was basically not enjoying because I was shutting off on my emotions. And frankly, most people don't shut off the positive emotions. Like, I want to be happy. I want to be
That's right.
excited. I want to be curious. I want to be interested. That's kind of the easier part. Well, most people shut off as the unpleasant ones, right?
Yes.
I'm sad. I'm disappointed. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm
Yes.
anxious. I'm afraid. Forget that stuff, right? And, we actually wind up hurting ourselves and the people around us because they're still there, right? We're just not dealing with them in an optimal way.
So give me an example, a story of how did you push through that fear? Because we all have the fear. I don't believe in a fearless life.
Yeah, right.
So, just making a decision that I'm gonna be more emotional and emotion's gonna matter to me,
Yeah.
it doesn't change anything until you take action. So for you, and the other side is you have the fears. Is this an unknown territory? So you've never been there, as you said, uh, going from intelligence to emotions. There's that wilderness in between, and then you have your own self-critics. So how did you push through? What was maybe an example of a mindset that got you through, that bridged you through?
Yeah, so there's a few things, right? One really important thing I mentioned earlier was motivation. I understood and I believed, hey, I'm missing something here. I'm missing something that's going to help me be happier, healthier, and more successful. And success being not just job, but my marriage and my relationships and just life in general, right? So I had enough self-awareness. Okay, I'm motivated. I want to fill in this thing because I'm not the best version of myself. There's something missing in my skill set, my repertoire, right? And that's the whole emotion side. The second thing was taking on a growth mindset, right? That really helped me. Of course, that's a pretty popular term. Carol Dweck popularized it, but there's this phrase that I used a lot. I'm not good at this yet,
Yeah.
right? And I would say that a lot, actually, even before I read her book. Okay, I'm not good at this, but I'm going to get there. I'm not good at this yet, but it's useful. And anything worth doing is worth doing badly at first, right? G.K. Chesterton said that. So I'm like, okay, I suck at this, but it's okay. I'm working on it. Um, and then the other thing actually that really helped me was support from friends. And, my wife, my friends, my kids, they're all very supportive. They're like, you can do it. Okay, I see progress. And one of the things that psychologically helps us to be motivated is it's called the progress principle, right? It's like seeing us make progress, even if it's a little bit, and having other people acknowledge that, it made a huge difference. And really, there's been so much research around this. If anybody wants to do anything great or make a change or improve something, they really don't do it on their own. Like it's a myth, the solo cowboy or cow person out there.
Yes.
We all need people around us that actually
Yes.
are willing to encourage us and also give us feedback,
Yes.
both positive, and critical to help us be able to grow and improve. So all those things absolutely help me, move ahead in that journey.
So I'm wondering, what was your relationship with failure before you found emotional intelligence, and what was it after?
Um, Before I realized what, emotional intelligence was, it was avoid failure and weakness at all costs.
Okay, that's
And
what
it
I
was,
thought.
yeah, it was be a know-it-all, right? I need to come in and demonstrate my proficiency. I need to be the smartest person in the room. And my favorite quote in high school was, everyone is entitled to my opinion. That's actually what I believed. And I also believed if you want it done right, do it yourself. I mean, it was just, and I was pretty successful at it, right? I mean, I was smart enough to kind of get things done and it was basically working.
Yes.
And then I came to a situation where it completely fell apart, and that was called my marriage. It's like, wait, you're entitled to my opinion all the time. I'm just going to do it myself. It wasn't really working. I couldn't be married by myself. And so I realized there's something that needed to be, it was suboptimal for happiness, health, and long-term success.
So let's bust another myth. Allow me to. You reminded me that most people, most engineers think that this thing with the emotions, I should start it at work first and not in my marriage because I can lose bigger things over there. But what I'm hearing is that you started exactly where it was the most important and most meaningful to you, which was your marriage.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And sorry, sorry, I think I cut you
I
off.
want to say, why? Why there? Why then? Why
Yeah.
not start smaller?
Yeah, there's not a recipe for it. This is just kind of my journey. And the reality is, it was my marriage, but it's also my work. Like I was working with people as a missionary, so I kind of needed to deal with the social emotional aspects of their life, right? It wasn't just all technical. So it was both really at the same time. But there's multiple paths to success and growth, right? There's this idea from systems dynamics that I recently learned. It's called equifinality. And essentially, it means that in a complex system, there are multiple ways to achieve the goal, right? And so you can start at work, practice there in maybe lower stakes environments, and then bring it home. Or you could practice at home and then bring it to work. It's a virtuous loop. And so whatever you learn in one context can also help you in another context because they're basically interpersonal skills. So as long as you're dealing with another human being, it is going to help you. What I would actually recommend is pick the place where it's maybe easiest to be able to practice. Lower the cost of failure, experiment, try things out, and then you can kind of build on top of that. And so some people find it easier at work, others find it easier at home. Depends on the situation and the environment they're in. It might be easier with a friend than maybe with your spouse or your teenager. I mean, it really depends. So find a place where, you can kind of practice and grow from there. That's what I generally recommend for people.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Yes. You're the one who knows your life better, so you make the
Yeah.
decision and then invite someone to help you with it, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Um, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that. And these moments of when you said experiment, fail, try again. So in your moments when you failed, um, and then you tried it again, and then some growth happened. I'm curious now about your relationship with, in this case, your wife. So it's someone who's supporting you. Because as we grow, some people tend to not like us as we grow, either because they stopped growing or they don't like us as we grow. They reject that new identity that we are forming as we are becoming our best selves. So, in your case, as you were growing, and I don't want to make assumptions, it sounds like that your wife was also growing with you, and thus the relationship was growing. Is that
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
case?
And so again, we're navigating some sort of deeper waters here. But one of the things is I was very fortunate that I basically fell in love with, and she did with me too. Somebody who really wanted to grow. Like we both had as a value becoming a better version of ourselves. Constant growth, constant iteration, constant development. And so I knew that. And I also had enough self-awareness to go, I need and I want to have a life partner who's like that because, I want to go places and I want to do things and I need someone who wants to go places and do things too. And we thought of life as a grand adventure,
Ooh, I
right? And
love
so we
that.
went to the Philippines and then came back here and then I pivoted multiple times in my career. Everything's an adventure, right? And of course, we know adventures are kind of scary and fraught with the unknown and really ambiguous. And sometimes it's beautiful landscapes and the sunset. Other times you're swashbuckling through the jungle. That's life. And that's also a metaphor for marriage. It's a metaphor for parenting. It's a metaphor for a new job and a new company. And so I look at it that way and it creates excitement rather than, just anxiety or nervousness, which, is there sometimes, but it also, it's more sort of that, sort of what the unknown might offer in terms of opportunities. So yeah, so we were able to grow together and definitely we've been married now, over 33 years. And so I'm happy that we can continue to grow into, whatever comes our way in the days to come.
Wow, thanks for sharing. I believe in that too, that you can't really achieve what you want, what you really want alone. So having someone to grow with and to go with is so important. So again, thank you very much for sharing.
You're welcome. Well, and
And
one other thing I will say too is, friendships really matter. I know we've talked, obviously, my wife is my best friend, so she's definitely at the top of the list, my favorite person. But I also have other friends who are also really good friends. And you probably heard the term, right? You will be the average of the five closest relationships.
Mhm.
And so choose them wisely, right? And they may shift over time in your life, which is totally fine, but we are going to be more like the people we're around more. And so I also have the good fortune of having really great friends, both at work and in my personal life, who all also want to grow and want to be their best and want to do something, meaningful with their life and are willing to both give me encouragement and also critical feedback so that we can help each other. And I say that because that's where the social emotional skills really come in, right? Like you really do need them to be able to build these lasting relationships because that's ultimately scientifically proven what's going to make you happy. Like
And
the
live
grant
longer.
study over at Harvard found, yeah, the single greatest thing that makes you happy long term in life is friends. I mean, the full stop. And so if you don't know how to make those kinds of friends, you're going to be missing out on really one of the greatest keys to being able to enjoy your life. And so I found that to be, really, really important to understand.
Oh, I love this circle that you're making. You shared with us that you went from I have no friends, um, rely on my intelligence, do it all, um, get myself the best, to now, going through the struggles and the pivotal moments, the transitions to I really value friends. And, for those who are thinking, what does he mean by friends? Do you have a definition of friends? I know it's a weird question, but it's kind of like success, have you,
Yeah.
maybe you haven't, I don't know, but it's something that you can share
Yeah.
more.
There are many qualities of friendship that different people value, but at the end of the day, it's someone, in my mind, someone whom you trust and trusts you, and that you can go through life together and support each other on this journey. And sometimes that support is being a cheerleader. Sometimes that support is being a critic because you need it. And for I think probably a lot of obvious reasons because we don't think about the emotional social side. But again, we're missing out on some of the biggest things that bring happiness in life and success at work. Um,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, that's what I said. I love the full circle where maybe you who's listening never thought that, oh, emotional intelligence can actually help me not just be happy and successful at work, but to have friends, to have really those friends who are there with me that I can rely on and they can rely on me. So I love that you brought that in, Rich. It's something that I believe in strongly as well. And as we're getting to the end of our conversation, I wonder, I want to give you back the mic and I wonder what you're going to leave us with as a takeaway, um, something that we walk away with to think about, maybe try out. I don't know.
Yeah. I think the main thing I'd say is, if you're a science, if you're a data person, if you're a skeptic, totally cool. Um, Look at the research. Read books like Daniel Goleman's Emotional Intelligence or his newest book, Optimal. I love that. It's how to optimize yourself and your performance, right? Mark Brackett wrote a wonderful book called Permission to Feel, and he's the
Yes.
director of the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. So many great stories and research demonstrating that you will be happier, healthier, and more successful if you actually work on your emotional intelligence. And the other thing I'd say is it is a set of skills. It really is. It's not like, oh, I have it or I don't, right? So there's a myth. I either, I'm emotionally attuned or I'm not. The research has found that a portion of it is genetic, maybe about 30%, but the vast majority, about 70%, is totally developable, right? And so I'm a living testament to that. No one would have accused me of having any emotional intelligence genetically, especially for the first 20 years of my life. But here I am, helping literally, hundreds of thousands of people develop it. And that's because I've decided to work on these skills. And so if you work on the skills, it can make a difference. So the first step I'd say is do some reading, do some research. You can also go to my website. It's richardhua.co. It's just my full name.co, and it's got a lot of resources there where you can exercises and thoughts and ideas and kind of check that out as well.
Oh, thank you. Well, on that note, you gave us more than I expected, so thank you very much. And remember, folks, that it's about also friends. So bring someone in that you're going to grow with as you're getting on this journey of emotional intelligence. So, thank you very much for being here. So appreciated our conversation today. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure. Have a great rest of your day.